All right, here we go. Now we're recording. Hey, welcome back to our little John's Loadout series. We're shooting here on Friday, the 23rd of May, Memorial Weekend. Raise your glass over the weekend to our honored dead. We did a Mother and G3 overview. Then we did a padded strap wrap. We just got done shooting the Mother loadout, and now we're going to shoot the G3 loadout. And before I do, though, I just want to tell you, like, we were just sitting here just kind of bullshitting before we started recording. And we were just looking at some stuff. So if you saw the live stream I did last night, we were just looking at some stuff that's coming out, and we both agreed it's too early in the morning for that right now. So we're going to get back into the G3. And hey, before we do John's loadout, I just want to point a couple things of the G3 out just in case you don't know. So here's a G3 in the awesome Nemesis camo. So it's already self-contained with the straps, but as John, if in the beginning, the first video, but it comes with two docking straps because I'm assuming, you might want to attach this to something else, or you might want to attach something to it. So it has Molly on the back, so you could attach it that way. But then it's these two big, we call them docking straps or drug straps, and so John had them earlier, and he was showing you how he uses those straps to attach his G3 to his Mother. So that's an option. Another thing that you saw in John's video is, so there's, if I open this up, or when I open up, you'll see it, but there's these attachment tabs. There's 4 of them. And when you open that, so you can use these things, and you could, like with S-beaners, you could have the G3 up on your shoulder, like if you wanted to attach them to something, or like your belt line and have it as a bib with the drag handle. To open this up, you don't have to undo the webbing from the side release buckle right there. You can just loosen it up just a little bit, and then you can simply just slide it off to the side. You do that on both of them, and then it'll open right up, and it's an easy way. And then, so kind of just talking about it, if you wanted to set one of these things up differently, you could easily set this up for a travel, like, toiletry kit. If you can imagine hanging this on the door hook in your hotel room, and then you'd have all the interior for all of your toiletries and stuff. And then the other thing I wanted to show here, illustrate, is in this version I have in my hand, this is what we call the hammy. So you've got a large pocket, 2 small pockets, and a large pocket. That's how it normally is. But in the hammy, we replaced one of the large pockets, and this is a clear vinyl. You can kind of see it shiny right there, because then you can insert a map sleeve or something in here, and now you've got a surface that you could write on with a dry erase marker, grease pen, alcohol pen. Actually go back and see some of the other videos. John's got a really good, very unique cleaning process. Well, yeah, I don't know if that was the Edo video.
Yeah,
go look at John's Edo loadout, because that was pretty interesting. But you've got this here, so you could use this for land nav, range, hunting, whatever the case is. That's just an option that's available. Again, you've got, and we'll get into this, but the normal one that I think John's going to show is a large pocket, 2 small pockets, large pocket. And then, as you can see, the pockets have little tie downs, and that'll come up on mine. Maybe these guys, well, we'll get into it. I don't need to tell you what those do, because John's about to show us what they can fit. Dun, dun, dun. And remember, we have an informal contest going on right now. We're trying to see if John has more clowns in his Mother clown car or in his G3 clown car. I lost track already in the Mother video, so we'll just see what.
That's a good question. I don't know, so I'll be interested to see who figures that out.
Yeah, so when your internet sleuths have to get it, but I just got to show that off again.
That's Nemesis. That looks
that's
good.
Nemesis. Yeah, it's so cool. I like it. Thanks, Clint. Thanks, Clint. All right, John, go ahead. Take it away, sir.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna just move you down.
I'm gonna get you up main screen here. Give me a sec.
Okay.
All right, there you go. Now you're sold. Go ahead.
If you go back to the very first video, you're gonna see how this is docked under the Mother canteen carrier. So I'm going to move you down. The part of this kit is pretty much shelter and kind of like more. I don't want to say long-term survival. I want to say more like, hey, we didn't get rescued in 24 hours, so we got some other stuff to worry about. Okay, so this is the multicam arid with multicam black. This is the first kit besides a padded strap wrap, or I'm sorry, a folding saw pouch that I bought from Mark. I love this thing. All right, so getting into this real quick, just so you guys know, a 8x8 silk nylon tarp will fit in this. Okay, I used to run that. I'm running something a little bit different now. All right, so first thing in here, this is called a sniper veil. Okay, so the intent is, all right, me and the boys are lost out in the woods. Somebody broke their leg. We just ate our food. So now, hopefully, most of the time when we're day hiking or something like that, we're about around a river, a lake, a stream. So this is a fishnet. That's what that, I mean, you can wear it as a sniper veil. You can ball it up. It can be a pillow and all that. This is for catching fish, bait fish, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. In the bottom here, we have a T60. You can get these at coldcracker.com. Dude's name's Dan Wowak. Super cool dude. He was on the second or third season alone. He's got the patent on this thing. This is a 6x7 or 5x7 tarp. And I mean, it's the size of a softball, and this thing weighs like less than 6 ounces. It's awesome. It's got the cordage in it. So the only thing you need to do is make some stakes, or you can put a couple titanium stakes in this kit. Okay. So that's in the first pouch. Ball this stuff up here. Now, on that very first video, you've seen I have a belt pouch on the padded strap wrap. That is primarily, that's all my first aid kit. Okay. So in these little pouches have tins. This tin is all Band-Aids and compressed gauze for larger wounds and what. I also have a water bag in here because in that the belt pouch, there are water tabs in there. So water purification. Now we get into these two right here. These kits come from Grim Workshop. Okay. They're down in Texas. This is a fishing kit. Okay. So you open that up. I don't know if you can see that. That is a bunch of like 6-pound test monofilament. All right. In here, we have a piece of sandpaper for sharpening fish hooks. These are fish lures. All right. So you're obviously fishing by hand. So you pop these out, tie them up, and you're pulling them kind of like a crankbait. This is full. This has got some spoons, a bunch of hooks, lots of hooks. And then, like I said, they're not super sharp. So that's why the sandpaper is in there. And then this is for gigging frogs. Okay. So this is, like I said, we're 2-3 days out. We ran out of food and the kids are starving. We're going to try a way to feed ourselves. Okay. So that kit's in there. And then don't forget, you're going to pair that up with the sniper veil, which I'm going to use as a fish net. And then I have a fire kit in here. If you go back to the G3, I just have a sparker to light my alcohol stove. I can start a fire with that, but this is a little bit more long-term. So we got some pyro putty in here, a mini Bic lighter. We got some UCO stormproof matches with a wet fire in there. We also have, this might be a pain in the butt to get out. This is a plastic credit card, essentially, that you can shave down and make tinder out of it. Okay, that's a Workshop's tinder card. We got a small ferrocerium rod in there. This is just a little bit of information on fire making, kindling, blah, blah, blah. And then this is the scraper for the ferrocerium rod. Okay. And then all comes the worst, and I run out all this stuff. We got a Fresno lens in here. And then this is waxed canvas. So this is kindling after you get your tinder going. There's one more thing in here somewhere hidden. Oh, here we go. This is wax line. So there's fishing line in here that you just start pulling out from down here. So we got, pretty much food, fire, water, shelter, everything involved in this kit. Not last, but not least, this is a poncho for rain gear and I can make a browse bed out of it and signaling. And then I got a road flare for signaling and fire making. And that's it.
All right.
Questions,
yeah. And let me bring it back over here. All right. Well, so you know what? Not as many items because John obviously had a lot of larger items in the G3 because there's larger pockets. So take advantage of that. Right. So I guess we kind of answered that. He had more things in the mother than the G3, but that should give you an idea, you know, again, of what you can and can't, you know, can fit it. Well, here, I'm actually going to use mine. Just a handful of little things I wanted to add to it. So, you know, again, there's a lot of items that you can get in here. Stakes, you know, tent stakes, longer items, you know, filtration, medical. These pockets aren't the same. One is the smaller of the small pockets is the size of a tin, you know, kind of exactly. This one's a little bit larger. Think of like strobe lights or the larger tins. But, you know, lots of items. And I'm not going to take mine out. Maybe this will show up. So, and I'm going to do a video on this here now that I've got a little bit more mobility coming back. I got to get cousin husband to help with the camera. But kind of like what John was doing with his bank line in his padded strap wrap. So I've got a, I think this is again, probably a 5x7 or 5x10 or whatever that size is. This is a tarp, and I've got my tarp S rolled in here. This is the beginning of my ridge line. So again, I could take this off, you know, S-beaner it, you know, or just hold it. But, you know, that's what, again, you're going into these, you can see it, you know, these straps right here, right? So, you know, I could S-beaner this, have this up on my chest rack or over my shoulder, you know, come up to my tree, take this, wrap it around, secure it, and then I can just walk right back. And then, but so the way I have mine set up, it's not only deploying the ridge line, but my tarp is already set up on the ridge line. So when I get to the end, I'm just tightening it off. And then like what John was talking about. So, I mean, that's literally how long has this taken so far? Finding, you know, the thing that would take the most is finding the appropriate bed down area, you know, that's got the trees and everything. Like that's going to take the longest time, even with John's technique. You know, oh, there's a tree, tie it off, walk back to my other tree, tie it off. And then I'm just doing a 360 and putting in all my stakes. And then boom, shelter, just like that. So, you know, lots of gear, you know, lots of people. Well, heck, and I'll just throw this out there. Some people have even done this as like a giant kitty diaper bag, you know, think juice boxes, toys, diapers, you know, all that kind of stuff. There's some cool pictures out there on the internet. And then last but not least, and you can't really see it on mine because I don't have it. I don't have this other pocket really folded up or full of gear because I got this kind of set up so I can do that video I just talked about. But if this was full of gear and maybe on John's, it'll show up. But when it comes together, it can make a little bit of like a triangle shape, you know, and as the top comes over and secures it, but that's okay because what you could do, you know, is you could run a jacket or a tarp down through here and then enclose that inside of the G3. So that just gives you a little bit more storage space as well.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, before when I was running the 8x8 tarp in here, I had this folded up in that sniper veil with the flare in it. And I still had this in here with a much larger shelter. The reason I switched to this is because I got these for the kids for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't need to carry an 8x8 tarp.
Yeah.
So
well, and then so just
and this thing was obviously a little bit bigger around, but I mean, you can still fit tons of gear in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but just to your point though, I just want to, you know, point out like, so the tarp I have, you know, it's still a sil nylon, but it's not like that. What is that? T6?
Yeah. This thing's crazy.
Yes.
This
like that is just insane. I mean, seriously. I mean,
it's in your utility pouch. Cause I mean, I have one on my plate carrier that has a camouflage one in there. So yeah, these are awesome. And like I said, they have the cordage in them. So when you pull them out, there's all your cordage and there's no fancy knots. You tie like you would tie your shoe. And I mean, this thing, and then what's really cool too is the bag that it stores in is sewn into the tarp. I mean,
yeah. So for you're not folding it up to put it away. You're just pushing it right back into its stuff sack.
Yeah, and then you just what you do it like so. There's the stuff sack right there where it says T60, and then the trick is though, you want to try to keep your cordage at the ends. That way, the first thing you are grabbing when it comes out is the cordage. So you kind of put it in there backwards, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I will tell you, they're really neat.
And I'm glad you just pulled that out. Sorry to say, but as you were standing back, that is a very good sized tarp.
Yeah,
it's a very good sized tarp right there.
Yeah, and honestly, I have done this in that G3. You can put 3 of these in here. So if you didn't want to put a Schmog or a Sniper Veil in there, you could literally put 3 of those because they literally compress to nothing. So you can put 3 of them in there if you wanted. And now you're carrying shelter for 3 different people.
Well, or your shelter becomes the Taj Mahooch.
Yeah,
that's what we used to call it, the Taj Mahooch, when you started combining ponchos, together.
And you know what's really cool too is I was watching one of his videos about 3-4 months ago, and he showed us one of these that he had out in the woods for like 3 years. It was all faded and crap, but it not very bad. It was in really good shape.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So yeah, it is probably the best shelter out there. And I think you got to deal with it. I think there's some like knockoff on Amazon now. I don't know what it's called, but I'd give him his due. He's a small business owner like you. He's out of Pennsylvania and runs a school. So that all goes in there like that, and then you just wind your cordage up and let that be the last part of the shelter that you put in there. It's really slippery material, so which is good. Water's going to beat up off of it and everything like that. And then, like I said, if you wanted to put titanium stakes in it or 2 small stakes because you're going to run a lean-to. So there you go. It's pretty cool.
That's impressive. So as we wrap this up, and hopefully, and I'm probably going to release these in sequence. So, kind of forcing everybody to watch them in order. Not forcing, like I can force anybody to do anything anymore. But and this is maybe the last of the sequence that you see. But hopefully it gives you the, really paints that picture of like, hey, man, seriously, whether I combine the 2 of those, the mother and the G3 and wear that over one shoulder, or split them up, get a shoulder strap to go with the G3 and have a G3 on one side, a mother on the other. But hopefully, I mean, like if that's all John could grab, like if right now he had to flee for his life, and if he just grabbed his mother in a G3, just think about it. Do you think he'd be totally screwed, or would he have you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of freaking gear and food. It ain't going to be the Hilton, sleeping under a shelter half, or none of that's great. It's not like being with 4 walls and a roof, but
right.
But I do want to like see that meal like that he's got in the mother, the mashed potatoes and but you see what I'm getting at? Like, that's a lot of resources at your disposal. So that's what I really like about these loadout videos, and that's the message I'm trying to convey. Yes, a rucksack you can carry more, undoubtedly, but can you carry a rucksack?
Don't forget, all this weighed 12.5 pounds.
Yeah, and with
on
that
your side, you don't have a big backpack on. It's 85 degrees out, and you're hiking in the woods. This is perfect. You're wearing a t-shirt, you're breathing, you're not taking a rucksack off and being completely soaking wet in the back. And now that temperature drops and you're wearing wet clothes, so think about that too. It lets your clothes breathe because it's just sitting right here. This starts to get wet, you flip it over, switch sides,
And that's a good point. And I kind of already screwed up and I put it away. You've got your padded. Well, okay. So boys and girls on the padded strap wrap, this is the last thing I'll just say. So, to what John was just saying, there's a fold in it. So, I mean, you do you. I would set it up on my shoulder strap so the fold is to the outside. So if I'm going to come, wear it over my right shoulder so it's dangling on my left side, I want to set it up so the Velcro closure is on the outside of my right shoulder. Because if you don't, then the opening or the closure is right here against your neck. And look, it's just inevitable. It's an edge. I mean, you want it because it'll keep you awake, but it will be rubbing against your neck. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, but
Or
it's not. So it's not hard to fix that. You know, like I mean, this is empty. So
yeah, just undo it from the carrier and just flip it around the other way.
Yeah, you just flip it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and you know, if you're, dude, 12 pounds, you're not going to get really fatigued at 12 pounds. But let's say you're 10 miles in and you're lost and you're walking through the woods. The whole point though is like you still got, there's a lot more airflow compared to wearing a big rucksack. You know what I mean? And then if you wanted to switch, I haven't had problem with having that go that way. And if I do, I get a schmog anyway. So you just go like that. But I mean, it's super easy. You got to take a water break. All you do is you're just going to pop it off and you're just going to switch sides. You know? So yeah, it's a beautiful system, man. So, and then here's the thing too, that a lot of people don't think about. What dude is day hiking are you going to see that's walking around with a multicam Arid multicam black canteen carrier, right? Or whatever color you get. I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, you go to a state park or something like that, you are going to be standing out because somebody's going to go, look at all that gear he's got. That you already just, there's one survival priority because if people start asking around, they're going to say, oh yeah, there was that these 2 kids and this dude, they had all kinds of cool gear. Oh, it had to be John and his kids. You know what I mean? So, and you notice how everything's orange in here. Make it orange. I mean, if you're trying to survive, you're trying to imitate a damn construction barrel, right? If you look like a construction barrel, you'll get found. So, yeah, those are just kind of foods for thought. I mean, when it comes to my day hiking kit, I'm trying to get it to stand out, and everything's in orange.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, boys and girls, everybody, big shout out and thank you to John, a.k.a. Gimli, a.k.a. the Accessorizer, taking the time, this beautiful morning to come on here and share a bunch of his tips, tricks, and, and practices and what he's using, show off the gear. I hope you guys are finding these loadouts, again, entertaining, but, more importantly, informative, right? Educational to some, but yeah, there it is. Edutainment, I guess that's what they call it. Right. But, look, yeah, of course, I'm really proud of the gear we make, and I would like you, to buy our gear. If you don't want to buy our gear, then buy it from another American company that's American made. I mean, and a lot of people say American made, and it's not. It's made like, okay, technically you made it in America, but you used foreign sourced materials, right? Hopefully you can find a place where it's no shit Velcro, no shit Kadura, no shit ITW Nexus, that kind of stuff. Try to keep everything, in-house and support, or, you got to do you. I mean, I get it, but I guess my kind of appeal here is like, we've got to stop buying cheap ass shit from over in China and try to support our local economies and our larger national economy as well, and get some of this industry back here into America. In the previous video, John was, I kind of made a comment about, people copying our gear. And we had a little thing about, like some people think it's expensive, and John was laughing. He's like, because it's not, and it isn't. I mean, I guess it's expensive relative to cheap ass stuff in China. And I'm going to do a special video I guess I'm going to use this to kind of warm everybody up to it. Just think about it. You're buying some product in America, some $50, like, well, I could get that for $50. All right. Roger, you can go on an Amazon and find some cheap ass shit for $50. But let me just ask you something. Think about from start to finish. So somewhere in China, there's a company that's, a factory that's making the material that's being shipped to a factory where there's people taking that material and sewing it together into the product, and on all that, everything that entails. That's just one step. Then it's loaded into, packaged up, and then it goes into a Connex. Then it goes onto a train or a vehicle, goes to a port of entry. Then it's, into a big Connex Sealand container, loaded onto a cargo vessel. That cargo vessel then, sails the 7 seas to a port in California, where then the whole process, then it's offloaded. The Connex is offloaded, and then that Connex maybe goes to a distribution center. Then it's opened up and all the boxes come out and they're segregated, and they're going to regional distribution centers or whatever the case is. And then it's broken down into the individual product, which is then packaged up and then shipped to you. And you're going to tell me that's all being done for $50? You're full, come on, man. I've got that bridge to nowhere in California. I'm willing to tell you,
You forgot the last part. The end of the story is you go to use it the first or second time, it fails.
Yeah. Well,
then you got to buy another one.
Exactly. What did you expect it was going to do like for $50? Because do you think those guys, look how much money it costs to do all that just logistics I just said about, not to include the labor, like it takes somebody, unless they're just doing it on giant CNC machines and it's just like a computer doing it. But if it's anything remotely like what we do and it's actually hand labor, a buck,
move a million of them to make some money.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. So something, so that's my parting thought right there. But now on a more positive note, just to reiterate. So if you are going out, there is no such thing, in my opinion. In my opinion, there's no such thing as it's just I'm going for a day hike. Always be thinking your safety, be thinking of the safety, with the people with you, and be able to get home because there's somebody who loves you and wants you to come back. So have that warrior mindset, that survivor mindset in there. And this is a small thing. Hey, yeah, it's a really nice day. There is no inclement weather, forecasted. And I'm only doing 5 or 10 miles and it's not 150 degrees. So, my concerns about heat stroke or heat, some type of heat exhaustion, lower on there. But like John, he already has electrolytes. So you're monitoring this. And so it's going to be safe. Okay, well, but Mother Nature plays a role in all this stuff. So make sure you have that gear with you. So back to my other story where I got sidetracked. Yeah, of course I want you to get our gear, but if you not get gear from some other American-made company using American-made materials, and be prepared. Because you don't get to pick and choose. You don't get to call timeout when Mother Nature throws a curveball at you, or like suddenly, you did something really stupid and now you broke your leg or twisted an ankle or whatever it is. That shit happens all the time. So just be prepared. Have something like this with you when you're going out and having your adventures and your fun, because it's going to be more fun. Because you in the back of your mind, that, hey, even if somebody gets a little, everything from a little boo-boo to, holy shit, I've got to take care of the snake bite. Again, you've got to know your operating environment and the threats there, and, your considerations. But, you now can have the tools necessary. And then I know John will say this, and that's half the joy of having the tools is fiddling with them and getting to know how to use them and how to pack them up. And so do that and be familiar with your tool. You don't want the first time you're trying to set up that alcohol stove is when you need it right now and you don't even know how to put it together. Fiddle with that stuff. That's the fun. Heck, sit down with your buddies and have a couple beers and fiddle with gear, or with yourself. Like,
oh yeah.
John, what are you doing in the basement? I'll be right up, dear. And like
we're making Irish coffee on the alcohol stove.
All right, this one is going a little bit long at the end, but what do you got for final comments, and then we'll wrap it on up.
I mean, I think you hit it again. One last thing about what you're talking about keeping it. Just imagine if you just keep this in the trunk of your car. It doesn't take up that much room. What happens if, like, what was it, 2-3 years ago, a bunch of people got stranded on a highway in Texas, right? You're not going to be able to survive in your car while you're waiting. I think people were out there for 2 or 3 days. I mean, you got a meal here and the ability to disinfect water, and you have a shelter. So if you get stranded on a highway and it's winter, you're not going to sit in your car and start a fire in your car. You can go off the side of the road or in the median, right? Wherever there's wood, and start a fire and survive. So that does not take up a lot of room in your car. My sons, as soon as they are old enough to drive, they will have something like this hanging off the back of their, like I said, the headrest. With that gear in there.
Amen. Well, and that's just right there. That's just prudent, right? So, everybody's armor plated or everybody's Superman until they're not, right? Yeah. So just know that there's going to come a
Tyson
moment.
Said everybody got a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
There it is. That's actually a better one. Mike Tyson is definitely OG. I mean, I like Mike Tyson. I don't know. There's just something about that guy.
Yeah. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Thank you.
Happy Memorial Day. Hey, so
friends that
and so we started at the beginning. We'll end it. No, I'm just drinking mineral water now. But seriously, even though you guys will see this video after Memorial weekend is over, Here, I'm raising our glass, John, doing the same thing.
Right.
Here's to our honored dead. May
Got a little bit of coffee left.
Yeah. May their memories shine on forever. All right, boys and girls, you know the deal. Thanks for watching. If you've got questions, leave them, a comment, or the piece of gear. John does a great job of, coming back and responding. Because again, it's his kit. He knows, hey, Mark, what is that in the middle pocket? I'm like, hey, John, somebody wants to know it's in the middle pocket. So put them on there. John's really good. You know the deal. Reach out to me, phone call, email, whatever. If you got questions, I'll do the best I can to help you out. I hope you guys all have a great Memorial weekend, where you reflect back and like, hey, that's a fun video. And I did have a great Memorial weekend. But reach out and we'll see you on the next one. Remember, until then, everybody, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. We'll see you guys again soon. And big, huge shout out and thanks to John for being on here again today. All right, everybody. Woo!